Ultiworld's live streaming coverage of the 2023 College Championships is presented by Breakmark Ultimate. Welcome, Ultimate fans, to Ultiworld's live streaming coverage of the 2023 Division I College Championships, coming to you from just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio, at Heritage Oaks Parks. I'm Keith Rayner, and I am joined by Charlie Lowe for this pool play matchup for the men's division. We have Texas Tough taking on the Washington Sun Dodgers. Texas got an early win this morning. Washington a very narrow loss to Pittsburgh, but both these teams have to think this is a very winnable game for them, Charlie.
You have to think so, and not only winnable, have to win. Pitt and Colorado stand up top daunting. Both these squads capable of picking up those wins, but with difficulties ahead through this win, a win today is going to do a lot for both these teams.
The wind is certainly going to play a factor in this matchup. We'll see how both teams make the adjustment. They have seen some of these conditions, having played a game already in these wins. A very close loss to Pittsburgh for Washington. Texas in control against Cornell, both in round one matchups. So each team's had a round off.
And as we hear Texas Tough with their very, very classic Texas Tough chant, sideline presence is something that I've been paying attention to today. Keith, earlier we saw Carleton men get a huge boon after Syzygy handily dispatched UT Dallas. Ran over and was able to join Cut on the sideline. Getting this energy going early for Texas is going to play to their advantage comfortably.
Certainly it's been a loud Texas sideline prior to the first pull. Texas will be starting on defense in the burnt orange, and receiving will be Washington in black.
So, keys to the game today, Keith. What's it going to look like for Washington?
Well, for Washington, their defense is able to get a lot of pressure. They were very successful against Pittsburgh in really clamping down on some of their sets, but they were really struggling to convert after the turn. So for them, it's going to be about generating breaks. This offense can move it, but the defense has got to get some in.
Yeah, on the other side of the field, Texas Tough, without one of their all-stars, Matt Chambers, number 12, an injury that is going to keep him from having a huge impact. Their offense's ability to stay cool under pressure without him guiding the ship is going to tell the tale for this game.
Washington's offense receiving. Martin Lee centers to Jasper Dean to reset off the sideline.
Incredible pressure already from Texas, willing to lay out for anything and everything, wind whipping around them.
Reset back to Lee, and Lee's going to try and float one ill-advised in this wind.
Keith, it looked like number 25 there for Texas caught the disc, thought better about landing with it in his hands and let it go to secure the block.
It's John Clyde, really the quarterback of this D-line. He's going up the line for a pass to space. Not going to be shy about taking a deep throw. Challenging Jack Brown can lead to turnovers.
Yeah, Xavier Fusat, one of the favorite targets for this Texas D-line, but Jack Brown doesn't lose a lot of matchups in the air.
I will be happy to watch those two foot race for more discs if they want to oblige us.
I do like, as just a point of order, I like the bleached hair from Jack Brown.
A lot of that going around. High stall blade for Max Ramstad, and Soren Dahl is able to get underneath it, but not a lot of options in the red zone, but eventually Martin Lee finds just a bit of room, and Washington punches in a hold to open.
Martin Lee playing with Seattle BFG, one of the most decorated club teams of the last few years, shows his expertise and that he is a dominating force for this Washington Sun Dodgers team as they get that early hold. 1-0, Sun Dodgers.
Lee with the earlier error, but able to get it back with some help from his teammate Jack Brown. Those two were a major factor in Washington's offensive success in round one. A lot of deep connections between those two and Jasper Dean as well.
We were able to talk with Washington's coach, D.Y. Chen, always a friendly face and quick to give some insight. He's mentioned that versatility is one of the strengths of this UW team. They have a lot of disc skills all up and down the roster and are very comfortable with the disc in the hands of anybody who might shift downfield, as we were able to see there. That's going to be key for them, and we'll see how they are able to exert some defensive pressure on this tough team.
Texas waits to receive as the ball goes up. And this is a fast group. I mean, this is a high-paced O-line, but their handlers can be really disciplined. We'll see if they find the right balance in this one.
Just a little bit too far for Jake Worthington, more commonly found downfield. One of the best athletes in this game and probably at this tournament. This is just a little bit too far for him on the inside throw.
So quick break chance for Washington. They're going to immediately send it towards the end zone, but can't keep that one from turning over in the wind.
We started this day with a gentle breeze, and this has turned into a gusting upwind, downwind game.
Classic Nationals.
Classic Nationals indeed. Owen Smith with some quick work there. Sneaky hands, pulls it away from the encroaching Sun Dodgers defender.
Zach Slayton getting a heavy dose of touches, so expect more of that from Tough. Worthington back to Slayton. Still just matchup from Washington.
They call him Cadillac Zach, and inside throws like that are the reason. Some of the most luxe throws on this Texas team.
A great switch from Washington to cover up. Gavin Babbitt with the disc now. Texas desperately trying to squeeze one into the front, and then the throw frees things up and goes against the grain for the assist. Gavin Babbitt into the end zone.
Those are the kind of holds that we know Texas is capable of putting in, even in a high stall count situation. Nothing rattling them, remaining calm. 8 or 9, there are plenty of teams out there who'd have been looking for something floaty into the end zone instead of nice, crisp inside lane.
And having that throw and knowing your teammate has that throw, I think allows you to be more aggressive attacking that front cone the way Texas was. I mean, all of those cuts were really directed towards that open side front cone, but you know that your teammate can bail you out going the other way if you need to. As we see the turnover from Washington that preceded that score. And Xavier Fuzat ends up getting the goal.
Almost some miscommunication there. Two players going for the same disc. That's the kind of thing that can spell disaster if they aren't able to talk to each other. Luckily, Fuzat remains steady. Tied at ones. Texas Tough and Washington Sun Dodgers.
These two teams in a pool with, you mentioned, the powerhouses at the top, the number 4 overall and number 5 overall seeds, Colorado and Pitt, respectively. Cornell, the lowest seed of the tournament, is also in their pool. So those are the teams that they are competing against. And these are two teams that, by seed, are likely to finish third and get that final pre-quarter spot. One of them has that shot. Obviously, an upset somewhere else could change the math a bit, but going to seed, these two teams are really competing for that chance to get into the bracket.
I don't think that these are teams that anyone would be looking forward to playing in pre-quarters. They have matchup nightmares up and down the roster, but getting there is going to be the first step. As we've mentioned, this is a have-to-have game for each of these sides.
And Lee turfing open backhand, not the kind of mistake you see from one of the key offensive players for Washington, but this field position is troublesome for the Sun Dodgers.
Excellent body position there from Aaron Barcio. He's had sort of a quiet season and almost able to save his own possession. And they do keep it alive, in fact.
Bouncing off of multiple sets of hands after the hand block from Waldemariam and ends up with Texas. And they finish off the break with a stabbing grab from Clyde. And Tough gets the first break of this one. They go up 2-1.
I got a chance to talk to assistant coach and Josh Brunelli and head coach Reed Bacon, and they told me that JC is going to go get it when he wants it. We see it with that bidding grab there. High difficulty, one-handed with the far hand. Brings in that break for Texas Tough. Quick 2-1 lead for them. And the body language is telling an early story, Keith. We'll see how that tracks over the course of this game.
Yeah, both these teams have gone through some real challenging moments through the course of this season. For Texas, coming in the postseason after a day one loss at regionals to Wash U. In a two-bid region, they were staring at the chance of not making nationals at all. They're able to bounce back and beat that same Wash U team in the game ago. And for Washington, I mean, it has been an up and down roller coaster for them. They've struggled with injuries and players coming and leaving the team, and those kinds of absences I think have really challenged their ability to gain some rhythm, to get all on the same page, and figure out what their identity is going to be this year. So I think they're hoping that they've slid in under the closing door in finding those things and trying to peak at just the right time after finishing second in the Northwest to advance out of the Northwest region.
Notably Washington without
third in the Northwest.
Washington notably without the assistance of Asaf Golan today and Tony Veneri, who has taken leave from the team. Still, though, they've remained very confident in their ability to march downfield. Not quite a faceless Army, a lot of big names as we've mentioned, but it can be difficult to win without stars. Nationals is where stars shine brightest.
Ramstad on the brick mark now. This is the upwind direction that the Washington offense is going. Coming a bit from behind us, so I'd say it's a crosswind towards the back cone on the far sideline from this vantage point. But Washington thinks nothing of it as they push some unders up the sideline.
Yeah, just continually up the line. Too high for Jack Brown, and despite the second effort from Sun Dodgers, disc goes out the back. We were enjoying some really crisp offense there. Upline after upline after upline. Dean, Ramstad, Brown looked like they were going to punch it in.
A classic error in these conditions. I mean, with everybody playing this front cone attack red zone offense, you see these poaches happen, and throwers are tempted to float one out to space to get past the poach and hit that back corner, but it's often going to be a harder look to hit than you think.
Wind and conditions, offense is taking a little bit longer to get into flow, is absolutely affecting the way that rotations are happening. Oregon Ego earlier also succumbed to the needed just one more player to get into the end zone, like we just saw with the Sun Dodgers, as the hammer sails high, caught by the wind.
Clyde absolutely lofting a hammer there. A tough read for Worthington.
Have to imagine he lost it in the wind and the sun, Keith.
Yeah, the sun is bright overhead. It would be a tough one to look directly at. Ramstad, the grad student transfer, opens the possession. Great crossfield throw to Isaac Waldemariam. So squeaking open. And Lee is getting a ton of pressure on defense from Alex Janelle. Very physical matchup. Lee makes the dive and grab, and Janelle says that was down. And I don't see anything to indicate that was down. That feels like a bit of a speculative call.
It's the one that you hope for. If it's down, it means we can start playing offense, and you don't want them to find rhythm off of big plays like that. Those are the kind of things that get teams amped. There's that ability to save anything that they can draw on to keep themselves going.
He reinitiates play, and he's working 2v2 with Jasper Dean. Another red zone opportunity for Washington after the last one, and you can again see a lot of those poaches gathering up near the front of the stack, trying to tempt out, coax that over-the-top throw. Washington doesn't fall for it this time and pushes it through the small window to Lee for the score.
Martin Lee making his presence felt early and often. Martin Lee is going to continue to be our player to watch over the course of this game. He will have his fingerprints all over every single Washington O-line possession and is a player they may be likely to cross over in big moments.
Yeah, he's been gathering a pretty hefty statistical total through 2 games and is certainly in a position to be the leader on the stat boards. He's taking shots, he's collecting them as well, and he's going to be one of our spin players to watch. Teams who wear spin uniforms have higher satisfaction with uniform quality, fit, design, and overall value compared to any other Ultimate company. So next time you're ordering uniforms, give Spin a shout. For more information, go to spinultimate.com.
So we get eyes on it. Matt Rader in the huddle with Washington Sun Dodgers in addition to this coaching staff. Joining Nick Stewart and D.Y. Chen, it's hard to find a group of players with higher lauds and honors than those 3.
Yeah, I don't know about their coaching bona fides, but I'll tell you, if they played a coach's game right now, they'd be at the top of the power rankings.
I really could not agree more. As we see Tough get started with their offensive attack. A little bit of a zone look, Keith, trying to get that trap on that low side of the field.
I think this might be the first point that we've seen Matt Chambers come on for the Texas O-line. He's got the disc in hand now.
It's always nice to see these young players grow up. Keith, Matt Chambers has traded the youthful mullet for a much more adult buzz cut.
Yeah, I remember him as a disc-slinging youngster, aggressive thrower. Probably a bit more measured with seasoning now, but Washington melting in the matchup as Texas approaches the red zone, and another upfield shot from Chambers, and Fuzat collects another goal, and Chambers says, "I can still sling it, buddy."
Archers are gonna arch. Keith, Matt Chambers is got a pretty quick draw, and first points of the day as far as we have heard and already on the stat sheet.
Yeah, I like a little Western reference, and he's the type of player to spin it around a couple times on his finger before he puts it back in the holster now.
This Tough team lost their QB1 after last year, Jake Radak, who moved on to bigger and better things. There was a hole to fill, and Tough happy to have it done by committee. Chambers, Clyde, and Slayton all happy to step into that primary thrower role. No QB1, but rather just a QB depth chart.
Fuzat able to reap some of the benefits as a goal scorer downfield. He hits pay dirt for the second time this game. So Texas out to the early lead. See how Washington's offense responds.
The key for Texas is going to be sitting into the defensive identity that Coach Reed Bacon wants to establish early, sealing off those around looks, really pinching off any bleeding there. If one break is okay, 2 is unacceptable. They want to really keep Sun Dodgers away from that break side as Ramstad shoots and is plucked right out of the air by Owen Smith.
Owen Smith's an impressive young player, a rookie with this Texas team.
Lee making his own down call to match his up call earlier.
He felt inspired.
Difficult to imagine he had eyes on that after the flying bid just seconds before. As we get a replay, little difficult to see as Ramstad sprints by.
Either player can ask.
So Keth Paltruru staying firmly in his belief that he had the disc up.
Stay here, stalling 1, check with him.
And the observer validates that call, Keith.
But one of my favorite errors, Ripstad somehow magically teleports from behind to in front with a perfectly set mark after the call.
That's where you got to get that good old violation call in there, Keith. But
you got to keep him honest.
Tough, happy to just keep the disc moving. Colby Bauer restarting the attack. Paltruru's knocking.
Yeah, that attack is advancing quickly, but now stuck in that short corner. Find a valuable reset to Clyde. And Clyde happy to celebrate after tossing in that assist.
Aaron Barcio, quiet in the regular season, gets on the stat sheet today as we see him hit. Had to have been a TikTok dance or something just off the cuff.
It must be a TikTok dance. How many likes will that get, folks?
What is it? Smash that MF like button, Keith.
I mean, really, on TikTok, you just need some watch time. But we're here for the content. Clyde has been a big purveyor so far of that scuba fake. All right, what's your grade on this?
Solid B minus.
B minus.
Solid B minus. The kind of
room for improvement, Mr. Barcio.
You can take it home, show it to mom, and she'll be okay. That's fine. And that stat line from John Clyde early: 1-1-1-1 goals, assists, blocks, turns. Have to imagine he's not too unhappy about the turnover, considering he's gotten this offense moving. Mr. Clyde has.
Yeah, although I'm sure if he could go back and take that turnover, which was that sailing hammer back, he probably would.
Those are the kinds of things that you remember when you talk about this tournament years later. He's at least got a good story out of it.
Well, it'll be a much better story if Texas is able to pull off this win. Probably a little more forgettable if they let Washington get back into this after a pair of breaks to put Texas up 4-2.
Step into the coach's box with me, Keith. What do you want from Washington right now, down 2-4 early?
Well, I think that right now they are taking a lot of shots directly up the line, going upwind, and that's just asking way too much of yourself. There's no reason to make it harder than the defense is going to make it on you. You're doing their job for them. So let's get in a position to take some smarter looks, looking at the middle of the field rather than trying to shoot these shots straight up the sideline, which is so difficult in these conditions.
They call it jamming it up the jam hole for a reason. That's the tightest space on the field. It's the most difficult one to work in. Texas has a determined approach of really employing a lot of lateral movement. Washington may need to do the same to find the same success.
That's definitely a part of Texas's offense that I've noticed from watching them is they are very good at working sideline to sideline. The handlers are happy to take the swing, and they'll stay disciplined despite all of the athleticism that they have. So the two teams are eyeing each other up coming out of that timeout. It certainly must have been a timeout unless they took a TV timeout that we're not aware of.
We've become ESPN, Keith.
Pulls out of bounds.
To the middle.
Nothing will make you feel more like a handler than walking it to the brick mark.
I like to do it. It makes me feel good.
Junk from Texas just to stop some of these pull plays, and immediately they're in one-on-ones.
Much more measured approach now. Lead dances into the hands of Chambers, though, goes the disc.
Yeah, just not on the same page as Hui Nguyen. Excuse me, and now big swing to Chambers.
Chambers does look like he's moving a little bit more tenderly, but nonetheless sure for it, Keith. You can tell they're happy to have him back. Too far for Barcio. Goes the OI flick, giving another look at the hold for the Washington Sun Dodgers.
Yeah, have we seen anybody complete a flick on this third of the field going in this direction? I'm not sure that we have. I feel like the teams are 0 for 4 maybe.
Not a long pass. There was that one that resulted in the big sky for Texas earlier in the goal. But
not of any range. The teams, I feel like, keep falling for that.
Toughest throw in this game, to be sure.
And again, Texas kind of sagging off some of the hailers just on the opening throw. Clyde doing a nice job playing center field to take away some of the Washington deep cuts.
Yeah, I like the mark there from Noah Powell. Made the decision not to sit all the way over into the break lane. The throw would have been too far and perhaps too difficult in this wind to continue all the way over to the sideline.
Lots of room between the Cutters and Hailers right now as Washington works in among that backfield group. And when I talked to Coach D.Y. Chen, deep throw going up from Jasper Dean.
Short-handed David Zhao. What a grab.
And a much cleaner look on that possession from Washington. Showed some discipline around the disc, and then Dean waits till the right look opens up and drops it in for Zhao.
A big, big hold for the Washington Sun Dodgers, down only 1 to Texas Tough.
Yeah, giving up a break there would have been a bit of a, not quite the panic button, but you're putting your hand over it. You know, you're considering we might need to break glass here to get the emergency supplies out. But instead, team rights the ship, calms things down a bit, and now you get to put the defense back out there and try and assert yourself.
3 has been a telling lead today in these games. Earlier, SUNY Binghamton Big Bear in the women's division, once they established their 3-point lead over Colorado Small Batch, able to maintain that all the way to victory on the back of Jolie Krebs. Texas looking to establish a 3-goal lead of their own, starting with an offensive possession here, up 4-3 on the Sun Dodgers.
And one thing I was a bit surprised by in Washington's game against Pittsburgh is that they didn't cross over their O-line players very much. They really just let the D-line go out there, and to their credit, the D-line was playing fantastic defense, but they were struggling a bit on offense. We'll see if they can apply that same type of pressure to Texas now that Texas is going downwind.
Anyone who can put pressure on Henry Ing is capable of exerting that same pressure over the course of a tournament. What a soaring block from the Sun Dodgers. Number 5, Davis Wright, clear through the air like a high jumper, only forwards, Keith. There's something there.
D.Y. Chen highlighted Wright as a player that nobody's talking about that has been one of the stars for this team on defense. He's a second-year player with the team, having played his undergrad at Gonzaga. And now with this team, he's having a big impact. And he had some big blocks against Pittsburgh.
And that throw is just too far on the turnaround for Griffin Lowe. 2 Texas defenders able to just watch it to the ground. They're going to get another hold opportunity here.
Washington forcing towards the sideline. Wright getting that Slayton matchup. Like a pick called.
Likely to see a more sure-handed Worthington here after the huck was just blown up by Davis Wright.
Worthington's taking off, and he's one of the preferred targets in the deep space. And was he able to toe that in? There was a narrow space for him to try and get just a couple molecules between the in bounds and out of bounds there, and somehow Worthington's able to get a toe in there.
Worthington is one of the best athletes, period, at this tournament. We heard from the coaching staff of Texas. He's not just big, he's not just fast. Being an athlete of that caliber means having excellent body control, and he demonstrated that. Able to outpace his defender while keeping those toes narrowly in for a very important hold for the Texas Tough.
I mean, I don't know if he shaved down the tip of his cleats to make sure that they're not very wide, so there's just a little more room to work with, but, you know, that is a tight fit.
We're going to have to start getting cleat checks from USAU to make sure players aren't giving themselves advantages on toe-ins.
And just a fantastic D, as you mentioned, from Wright. And Worthington showing that maybe it's better if he's taken off instead of putting him up.
Keith, you and I both come from programs looking to really get to nationals relevance, and down at IU we have a saying: players are going to make plays. Davis Wright and Jake Worthington trading big ones right there.
Sign me up for more of that. Clyde frustrated with himself after his second out-of-bounds pull, going this upwind. So Bramstad will march to the middle.
Yeah, Bramstad, a grad student for this UW Sun Dodgers team, came out of the Penn State program, playing in the Ohio Valley, brings a measured and experienced presence, used to an entirely different brand of ultimate than what we get out of this Seattle program.
And high stall, knocked away but saved, so now each team has benefited from the deflected disc for the catch. Jack Brown takes advantage of the chaos and gets open deep for the score.
Jack Brown, a standout for Seattle Sockeye, played on last year's World Ultimate Club Championships team, played on their nationals team, showed up in several Color of Ultimate events over the season. He is somebody that is going to make his presence felt, whether on the stat sheet or just opening up space for his teammates. He eats up so much yardage and it requires so much attention. It's absolutely a boon for the Sun Dodgers team. They can just go where he is not and know there will be space to play.
He's another player who we've gotten to watch his game kind of grow up in front of our eyes. As you see, again, just a fantastic block from Aaron Barcio. That won't count as a block, and he walked off motioning catch it. He's just kept practicing his hands to catch it because felt like I should have just tried to catch it rather than knock it away. It was a high stall situation, and he had the clearance to do so, but better to get your hands on it than not do anything. And going back to your note, to those thoughts on Brown, I mean, he's a player who, intense competitor, really springy, so really great in the air, and it had a great opening to his career as a young player, winning in the deep space. But he's evolved to find out how to maximize space, to open up space for his teammates, and to capitalize on people fearing his ability to go up and get the disc in once he goes downfield.
Slayton marshals the offense here. Pick call, though, stops progress.
Slayton harkens back to tough handlers of old, like Stephen Franchise Presley. And maybe he's the new franchise, as he lights up a beauty of a forehand to Fuzat for his third goal.
Cadillac Zach Keith, sneaky best thrower in the men's division?
Bold. But I'll tell you what, it definitely looks like it's a vehicle built for luxury and performance.
The throws like that, perfectly placed, no one in the area. Still had a couple steps of room left. That was just an idyllic throw from the hands of Zach Slayton. Best thrower may have been high praise, but somebody that we're going to watch all tournament as he continues to fill up the assist sheet.
Certainly a good thrower. Can't take that away from him. His ability to get open for resets with efficient use of energy has really helped him in this game, so he can stay fresh.
As we see that toe and grab again from Slayton. He knows his receivers so well, and he is a master at putting the disc where only the tough players can go and catch those dimes.
So it looks like he's enjoying going downwind a little bit more.
Perhaps that'll be his biggest test today. Is he capable of the same damage upfield and upwind?
Washington trying to match that hold. Brown uncovered as that Pochi set leads to a little bit of confusion from Texas.
Brown is just running free. Chased by Bauer. Finally able to get a trade off there, Keith.
Yeah, Texas trying to talk their way through switches to cut off some of these open deep lanes, but that's made it pretty easy for Washington to take the under. Lee with a nice offhand to set up that one. You know, Charlie, yesterday I believe you asked me about keeping stats of hockey assists, and we talked about which ones are valuable and which ones aren't. That's a pretty valuable one. You throw that offhand, backhand, crack open the defense, and somebody else gets to finish off the score, but we know who did the hard work.
Exactly. And Ramstad showing that veteran presence, gets his body in the way, fine with clap catching it and taking it through the roll off of the very quick dish from Zhao. These are the things that we are looking for, and we're going to a timeout on the field.
Washington with the hold. They are pushing to try and get back in front of Texas, who will take control in the middle of Pool D.
What are they, spaceships from Mars? No, they're Frisbees. Watch it soar. It flies way around like a bird. You can even run for a pass. You can play all kinds of games. Isn't it amazing? Frisbee Flying Saucer. Yours at toy, drug, and department stores.
Washington's defense diagnosing this Texas offense right now, trying to figure out the next step for them. If they want to get back and forth, they're going to need a break. They're basically in the same spot they were against Pittsburgh earlier this morning, just trading back and forth, but trying to catch up. Brown getting ready to pull. Sometimes the puller, I almost want to wait out the gust, see if I could just hold my hand up long enough until the gust stops. But Brown's going to be forced to go. Keeps it in bounds, though.
At an unobserved tournament, maybe unsanctioned, you could probably get away with that a little bit more, but we've got a strict clock kept. Thank you again to our observers and our volunteers here at College Nationals. What an amazing layout. Gavin Babbitt gets up, sure-handed and steady with a disc straight to right. Starts the counterattack for Washington.
Yeah, Babbitt frustrated with himself, gives up a free one. And now a deep shot going up to Jack Brown. That's the guy they want in space, and that's exactly why. Shows off the wheels. He and Dean connecting for a break.
I like that throw from Jasper Dean, somebody who is willing to take shots for this Washington side. A very, very capable thrower, someone who's really able to work the angles, and that is the most successful OI flick downfield that we've seen, Keith. Still more from the middle of the field, or that right third to middle third. Not quite that same third huck we were looking for, but nonetheless successful. Jack Brown, an ideal target to run that down.
Jasper Dean, one of two breakout player of the year runner-ups in this game. Former, he and Xavier Fusat, each runners-up. To give you a brief moment for anybody out there to guess at home. Georgia's Adam Miller is the answer. That's the 2021 Breakout Player of the Year class in the Division I men's division. And both those players are having successful outings in this one.
100%, Keith. So now we've finally gotten the field reversal, and we're going to get a look at this Texas O-line going into that stiff upwind. Their ability to hold here is going to have a truly huge impact on this game if they can remain sure-handed. They'll get a chance at that downwind break and hopefully reestablish their footing.
Even despite the error, they sent her back up to Babbitt rather than Slayton. Either see something in the matchup they like, but always good for your teammates to know, or for your teammates to know that you're confident in them. You'll go right back to them even after a mistake.
Babbitt, one of those guys that, really was comfortable taking on a larger role, as we see John Clyde sky for that disc there. Continuing on to Worthington. Babbitt really comfortable moving into that backfield space. He's shown himself to be an excellent replacement or addition.
Yeah, a bit of a stacked line with Clyde also coming in for Texas. But that can't get them through the pressure. Delano Mongshan with a great reset defense. Short field now for Washington. Lee also crossing over.
Babbitt thought about blowing that one up, decided to just get a mark set instead.
It's all handlers right now for Washington as they move backwards, trying to activate at the front of the stack.
There's that defensive pressure Reed Bacon mentioned. Clyde quick to seal that around. Slayton doing the same on Lee, not letting anything continue onto the break side more than one throw.
And now Wright taking a look towards the end zone, and it bounces off the hands of its intended target.
That's Grassy there. They call him Dane. Disc just a little bit too far. Bounces off the outstretched fingertips, and Clyde's going to restart the offense for Tough.
And I hate to continue to just reference the Pitt game this morning, but their D-line had 2 big drops on scoring opportunities in that game, break chances that they couldn't catch, and we see that happening again for them here against Texas. And Washington is hungry for a block, so much so that they're running into one another. But Texas still got the disc. Babbitt gets the reset. Clyde in a power position, and he's going to use that to send a backhand. A jump ball, 2-on-1. Worthington in the area. Slayton deflects it, but there's nobody home to play any more defense after that.
And they give each other a big hug. 2 players, 1 goal. Team offense is what wins games, Keith.
And Texas able to capitalize on, to be honest, a lack of discipline from Washington on defense. They were all over the place around the disc up here. That helps give up that break side huck. You let Clyde get to his backhand. Just going to let him throw a lot further going this direction. And then who's on one of these players? Somebody else should be following the disc and not expecting to get a deflection. But in these kind of conditions, these are the situations where discs are going to pop up. We've already seen it happen multiple times this game. You've got to be hustling after the play there, because that's going to be one where the D-line looks at like, oh my gosh, we could have been in that play if we hadn't just watched it all happen. It's going to be a frustrating one for the coaching staff too.
Delano Mongshan did everything possible, and even pushed himself to get back up and tried to still challenge Slayton and Worthington on that second attempt grab. We saw the other Sun Dodgers player trotting up as though it was a done deal already. Higher levels of effort from the Sun Dodgers are what's going to make the difference.
Any number of other Sun Dodgers might have been in that area had they followed the play initially when the huck went up. But Texas reaps the benefits of a little extra hustle, and now they've got a chance to take half if they can break, with Washington having to go upwind as well.
And a perfectly shaped pull into the hands of David Zhao. Clyde got all sorts of edge on that one.
Lee about 5 yards out of his own end zone, and again we see a poach set from Texas, trying to make sure that Washington's not going to get off any quick hucks. They do gain half the field though in 2 throws.
Yeah, Wildemariam was taken off there, 2 tough players giving chase, but on a well-placed flat flick up the line to Jack Brown in for another goal.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was poor execution or if Tough was just confused, because whatever set they came out in, they never recovered to get back onto their marks. And while teams have struggled with that forehand that we mentioned, you can't give an unmarked one. And Dahl, with all the room in the world, is going to be able to send that right to Jack Brown.
Players finding more success attacking this upwind now. The wind has died down a little bit. Perhaps they're reaping the benefits of some space between gusts. But that's now twice. A nice aired out flat backhand from John Clyde, and now a flat flick out to Jack Brown. giving us our last 2 scores. So we get the stat line on John Clyde. Taking a look at a different player though. It's Thomas Axtell from UW with John Clyde's stat line.
He's the Washington counterpart. So we've got a timeout for Washington as maybe a kind of use it or lose it situation as we approach the halftime. Also potentially a chance to stack their D-line if they need some extra O-line presence.
Taking a look out there, I see Dean, Zhao, Brown, Woldemariam. Whole lot of crossover joining the likes of Mong Chan.
You can see Coach Chen helping design the matchups, what the strategy is going to be. Texas also with some crossovers from their D-line to the O-line with the presence of Babbitt and Clyde.
Clyde, Worthington, Slayton, Babbitt, all out there for the Texas Tough side. Additionally, Peter No with them. Xavier Fusat, continual presence.
Right, I've still got 20 to set. Or now I'll be
Cade
set.
White, the 7th on that line. And we'll see how Washington approaches this. I was a little bit surprised on their last offensive point how little they got Slayton the disc. But he was also being checked by Lee, so maybe they decided, hey, we can pull him out of the play. We got 6 other guys who can run this offense. Brown with a huge pull. Not sure if that one's going to come back in, though. Pulling with the wind can be a tricky art in its own right.
Everybody gets excited to go downwind until all your throws get pushed out the back, Keith.
So Babbitt on the brick.
Yeah, wisely perhaps holsters that throw. Jack Brown giving chase on Xavier Fusat.
Finds a great option to break it over to Worthington. Tough. Vertically aligned now in the stack.
Ooh, I do like that inside flick from Clyde over to Babbitt. An excellent footwork from Clyde, frees himself up from Dean.
But White's not able to secure that under. So Washington will pick up with a chance to take the lead into halftime. And a number of O-line personnel out on the field. Lots of D-line personnel for Texas to counter, so we'll see how it works out. Dean with a scuba that maybe not the right choice in these conditions.
Yeah, pushed straight into the ground. Struggling to free himself from Woldemariam. And we get a run through block for the Sun Dodgers.
And the bookends for Ryan Liao to take the half for Washington. Hustling into the backfield, attacks the disc when the offense wouldn't, and then goes the other way for the score. And the Sun Dodgers are going to be up going into the break.
Lead. What a turnaround in this game for Washington Sun Dodgers, and Texas Tough is going to have a lot of questions going into halftime.
Yeah, I think both of these teams have had good moments, things to be excited about coming into the second half, and areas that they could get better. As it was when we started this thing, both these teams have to feel very much like this is a winnable game for them, as well as a vital one for their hopes for reaching the bracket and doing some damage here at the 2023 D1 College Championships. Credit to Gavin the defense on Gavin Babbitt for forcing him out of the reset space and giving the opportunity for Liao to get that block, and that block a game changer. Puts Washington up 8-7, second half coming your way in just a moment.
are they, spaceships from Mars? No, they're Frisbees. Watch it soar. It flies way around like a bird. You can even run for a pass. You can play all kinds of games. Isn't it amazing? Frisbee Flying Saucer. Yours at toy, drug, and department stores.
Yep. Yep. One of the many. We got a couple more this time.
Only 3 commercials,
Yeah.
right? So.
I'm here with Coach Reed Bagan of Texas, right? Big first half. Talk me through how that was going.
Yeah, back and forth. You know, it's windy out here. I think we were connecting really well for the first quarter. But, you know, it's going to be back and forth. Our sideline energy is great. We're picking each other up and having a lot of fun.
I would say your sideline energy is probably the loudest of any team that's out here. I'm standing right next to the booth and can barely hear myself think with your sideline going there. How do you keep manufacturing that kind of energy through all these games?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to force it, but you fake it till you make it, and you force it until it comes naturally. So we got the guys with energy. We got power. We're making plays, and it's easy to get hyped up and making plays. So.
Your defensive intensity is there, but it looks a couple times like your team is a little bit unclear on those defensive sets. What kind of adjustments are you looking to make in defense as you come into the second half?
Yeah, got to keep our head in the game. Got to chase every disc down. We had a couple pop-ups, so, you know, we're getting the Ds, we're not finishing them. You know, we'll keep chasing. We'll focus in a little bit, and we'll lock down.
All right. Well, great. First half, exciting stuff. Good luck in the second half. And I'm going to send it from myself, Katie Kilbrew, back to you in the booth.
Thank you, Katie and Reed. Interesting to hear about the team's energy. I wonder if it's perhaps challenging the focus. Certainly, this Washington team challenging Texas, giving them all they can handle. And we'll see who can handle the heat in the second half.
The last 50 years have seen a lot of positive change
around a whole range of important issues.
And some things remain reassuringly unchanged.
Like the spirit of our game.
Ultimate is 50 years young
and still a perfect circle
of fair play,
athletic pursuit,
and camaraderie.
In fact, Ultimate was a social network
before social networks even existed.
Respetamos nuestras diferencias
and understand the value that they add.
The revolution of the disc in flight continues to prove
that there's nothing we can't achieve
when we
pull together.
Long live Ultimate.
Larga vida Ultimate.
Long live Ultimate.
What would it look like if a competitive sport didn't mean a choice between beauty and brutality, style and steel, between calling yourself out and clawing to stay in? What if there was a game that found balance between spirit and sport, agony and elation, like a disc dancing on air?
We now have evolved into a team sport of a game called Ultimate.
It stands by itself in that it is like no other game.
Between perfect passes and devastating drops, like the balance we so desperately needed, we had no choice but to create it ourselves. Long live grit and grace. Long live Ultimate.
Ultiworld's live streaming coverage of the 2023 College Championships is presented by Breakmark Ultimate. Welcome back to Ultiworld's live streaming coverage of the 2023 Division I College Championships, coming to you from just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. Here at Heritage Oaks Parks, Keith Rayner joined by Charlie Lowe, getting ready for the second half of this matchup between Washington Sun Dodgers and Texas Tough. And Tough with the lead for much of the first half, but it's Washington who has the lead coming into the second half.
Yeah, Washington, our biggest question about them was if their defense would be able to generate breaks. We know their O-line is steady as they come, and they have shown themselves capable. A little bit of crossover here, a little bit of switch over there. They've shown their teeth and got themselves the 8-7 advantage.
For me, it feels like the team that plays with a little more discipline and focus is going to have a big advantage in this game. I mean, both teams have shown athleticism and skill, but decision-making, hustle, like those are the things sometimes that are getting away from these teams. You know, these discs are popping up in the wind, executing in these conditions, making the best decisions based on the conditions and where the defense is. Those things, I think, have been a little more tug of a war situation between the two teams. One team will get a little bit of advantage in one and then give it back up. So I feel like that's an axis that either one of these teams can try and take control of this game by grabbing onto.
And speaking of conditions, Keith, it is no secret that it is windy out here. You are seeing all kinds of movement on the jerseys from these players. Trees in the background, far away as they may be, whipping in this wind. And it's shown effect. Players early on having a lot of difficulty throwing that upwind flick. Until finally we got some success from Clyde and from Dean. Teams that continue to establish that throwing ability upwind are going to be the ones to win this game.
Ripstad coming over for defense and opening with the roller pull for Washington. Maybe almost an up line kind of setup, having him come over. But he's going to get the Slayton matchup, so that's certainly defensively focused.
Rising stall count, too high.
And a foul call on the throw, however. Ramstad with fantastic defense on Slayton in the reset space to create that situation.
Babbitt arguing that Soma Yabuki made some contact with his throw before he was into follow through. Yabuki looking like he pretty staunchly disagrees with that call, Keith.
Players talking it out. It's going to get sent back, it looks like, on a contest.
They're still moving.
Number one.
What?
Maybe there was a contact call? I'm not sure how the stalls come in on one. If it was, I guess it must have been no contest.
Not sure. This side stack look, though, for Texas, not yielding them the results that they want. Finally able to get the disc moved in some handler action.
Yeah, having Texas on the sideline was a great opportunity for Washington. Although they're getting Texas back on the opposite sideline now as White gets open up the line. A lot of pressure on these resets on the part of Washington. Worthington back to Babbitt across the field. Texas back in their vertical stack because there's a foul on the catch.
The Sun Dodgers have ramped up the intensity to another level. Nothing is coming easy anymore for this tough side.
Front stack initiation and a scoober into the end zone is a beautiful highlight to start this second half. Fuzat's showing that scoring goals is not the only way that he can get on the stat sheet.
Xavier Fuzat, a quiet, underrated player on this Texas tough side. One of those, it is totally fine to fill it up or help out in the backfield. Got another look at the call. Hard to see much of anything there.
Yeah, we have a brief look at it, but minimal contact, it seems like that would be a part of that play. But either way, Texas gets the assist and a beautiful one to Worthington. Fuzat getting his first assist after a trio of goals in the first half.
And now the tough side will be in pursuit of that ever important upwind break, looking to put themselves back on top. We see Xavier Fuzat's stat line today, 3 goals, 1 assist. Most importantly, no turnovers for that young man.
Fuzat's having a strong start to his nationals.
really is hard to ask for a better, you know, seeing this dish off of Chambers, making that grab through contact and encroaching Sun Dodgers, doing it with his throwing prowess. A nice scuba over to Jake Worthington, somebody who can do it all and is content to get out there and help as he can.
Lee's gonna walk another one up, pushing his offense forward. Texas having some trouble with that upwind pulling still. Now discussion about where the disc should go. So I guess disagreement. Lee just spotted the wrong mark. He's going to the midfield mark instead of the brick mark.
Side stack look finds Dean in the middle. That's what they want as they push upfield to Brown.
Some confusion upfield, and then Dean is cut off in the reset space, so Brown's forced to try and loft something towards the end zone. Nearly gets an assist out of it.
Yeah, Luke Knight really showed some teeth for Texas on his defense in the handler space, really locking up Dean, forcing Brown to get rid of the disc.
We've seen reset defense be really vital in this game thus far. Whenever a team's putting a bunch of pressure on those resets, they found a lot of defensive success and getting high stall throws and mistakes. And there it is again. Lee clamping down on Babbitt. Brown gets the inside break from Dahl, and that's that secondary assist back at work. Almost the same look. Only this time you got a lefty throwing the lefty throw. Brown finishes it off with the assist.
I think the story for Tough right now, Keith, is what they're going to do to clean up these handler sets. They're getting these upfield throws, these nice inside windows, pushing ahead 15, 20 yards, and then getting absolutely locked down by the handler defense of the Sun Dodgers, and they're almost not willing to look upfield, instead preferring to stick with it 10 seconds to try to get it back in Babbitt or Slayton's hands.
Or what kind of solutions do you feel like you see to try and deal with that type of pressure?
I have to wonder analytically about comfort of different players advancing the disc upfield, and if quick movement back to those sets would solve the problem. If you know that you're going to be dishing it back off, is there anything that the Tough side can do to change the angle of attack and the speed at which the attack comes from the handler sets? Is Babbitt drifting upfield following the action? Is Slate, or is he jabbing in there quickly, looking to, knowing the disc is going to be coming back to him?
I think they're also going with these really negative of the disc resets, that kind of directly behind, and then I'll dance one way and come back to the open side, and that's getting taken away, but it puts them in a position where they can't really clear to get a second look. So there might be another arrangement they can come up with that'll allow them, the handler, to clear if they're not open and create space for another player. Right now it's basically like all or nothing. Either we're getting this reset to this person or there's nothing happening.
Yeah, it's different if that kind of singular focus look is at the end zone, and there's a goal on the line. But when it's to risk a loss of 10 yards and a turnover that leads to a goal, it's time to start, thinking about how you can reshape your attack for the rest of this game. What a grab under pressure for Tough, 2 times in a row as the Sun Dodgers continue to push the intensity.
Looks like a travel called against White after the bid. White a bit frustrated perhaps by the call.
Is there anybody who's not frustrated after a travel call? When we play Ulti World Mini, I think Edward gets mad at travel calls.
Coming.
So a vindicated Cade White. So this goes back to Neo. And disconnect about that stall count.
The fast count is an
right, players, wait for
underutilized
the
call, Keith. There's a lot of real fast 10 seconds in the college division.
It's definitely an overutilized tactic to actually just fast count. And I think the teams don't want to play. They want to talk.
Your check.
UW looking to channel some sideline energy of their own as we hear the UW cheer ring out. Texas, a little bit quiet comparatively to earlier in the game.
A pick call. This Fuzat feels like he was wide open, and it looks like he's going to stay open. Still discussion ongoing. Texas incredulous that the pick perhaps happened while Fuzat was within 10 feet.
Okay, we good?
I think they have a pretty strong case, and they're going to end up that way. And Worthington tries to decide if he's going to put that one up, opts not to. And still the struggles with getting to a second reset look continue for Texas, this time in the red zone. Washington looking to punish them.
The advance to Mongchan off the big fake from Ramstad. And Tough is just out of sorts in the backfield. Slayton not able to challenge Ramstad anymore for that disc, but solid mark there and a huge block from Texas Tough. There's the horns we've been waiting for, Keith.
The horns up for Cade White, gets up for the block. Keeps the sunglasses on.
Pit Vipers up, horns up, Keith.
Wheels up. Now the deep shot looking for Worthington and Fuzat together. And Worthington lets Fuzat have it. And the two share a joyful look as they get the score and go unpunished for their mistake in the red zone.
Cadillac Zach does it again, another perfectly placed throw. Two people in the area, hard to mess up when you've got two receivers. Fuzat reels in his fourth goal.
Yeah, and tough to say, I can't hear what the players are saying to each other. I don't know quite the tenor of their interactions. But I will say, despite the players' frustration with each other over calls, they seem to be settling their disagreements pretty amicably and communicating favorably. I've said it before, but I think that sometimes people mistake being spirited with being agreeable. You can't disagree with anybody, but I think it's about disagreeing respectfully, which is what seems to be happening here.
We can have a respectful conversation about a call and I can still be in a bad mood, and that's totally fine. Cade White, the hero of that point for Texas Tough with that monstrous blow up of the Sun Dodgers upfield attack. Zach Slayton counters the other way with a soaring flick to Xavier Fuzat, reeling in his fourth goal. Tied back up at 9s, Texas Tough and UW Sun Dodgers.
That Pool D is often denoted as the pool of death here at the college championships, indicating it's an incredibly competitive pool because of the presence of the 4, 5, 9 seeds all clumped together. But right now it's the 16th seed making things interesting, having gone toe-to-toe with Pitt and now doing the same with Texas. Worth noting that Colorado's in their first game, the top seed in this pool, and they're in big control against Cornell, their first round matchup. They were up 9-2 at last count.
Yeah, Pool D really is 4 teams who could all really have an impact in the bracket, and Cornell.
An update that score is expanded to 14-2, which is about as lopsided a score as you're going to see here at Nationals. As Washington walks in a hole, they got to feel confident to respond.
We talked a lot about Martin Lee as our player to watch, but really challenging him for that is that young man right there, David Zhao, who has had every single bit as much a hand in this game for Washington as Lee has. Running mates in the backfield and often connecting. Zhao's reeled in a few goals, at least 3, I believe, at this point, Keith. And definitely
Zhao just finding the end zone yet again, and a smart player. He's also hit an assist earlier in this game. He's been particularly effective around the red zone for them.
David Zhao, 2 goals, 4 assists on the day. 4 assists. Off by 1, but filling it up with his throws. If I'm D.Y. Chen, if I'm Nick Stewart, I am incredibly happy with how Zhao is playing, and I'm looking to get him the disc as often as possible over the rest of this game.
You're looking to ride the hot hand?
Oh, I love riding the hot hand, Keith. Why stop a good thing in its tracks? quick shout out to Colby Bauer on the tough sideline, always there to go receive the discs for them.
Hey, your teammates can help you out on the sideline in these kind of conditions. And just an absolute beauty from Cadillac Zach. I mean, it's like a fleet of Cadillacs out here because they just keep showing up. Every time I turn around, I see another Cadillac.
Is that a first throw score for Zach Slate, Barcio right there?
Beautiful. Slate's got to feel good about that, and you got to feel a little frustrated about the pull if you're Washington, giving them a short field going downwind.
Zach Slayton, one of the attendees of the U24 tryouts earlier this year. There are some among the tough faithful who view him as a snub for that U24 team, maybe proving them to be correct over the course of the day.
It wouldn't be the state of Texas Ultimate if they didn't have a chip on their shoulder and feel like everybody was disrespecting them. That is a tried and true staple of being in the state of Texas and playing Ultimate.
We got to look at the numbers for Slayton today. No goals, no blocks, but 4 assists, matching Zhao's pace. 1 turnover on the day.
And you know what I like about Slayton? I mean, and about the Cadillac here? Like we said, it's a luxury. It's a smooth ride. It just looks easy. I mean, I hope that I can have the impact on the game that he has while looking like I'm exerting myself as little as he feels like he is.
There are players who have some really, really big windups. You can tell they're putting every bit of effort into it. Zach is not among them.
I mean, even his reset cuts feel like he's just kind of slipping open sometimes. You know, in contrast to, say, Martin Lee, who's working his tail off. I mean, he looks like he is chugging. And they're just very different styles of being a handler between the pair.
Getting a slight matchup change. Speaking of Lee, now shadowed by Aaron Barcio, and so far so good. Barcio proving rather effective. Lee's pretty quiet at this point so far.
Layout save. Into the red zone, nearly blocked off by Clyde on the switch, and a great offensive possession ends with Sorendahl getting the score for Washington. And you know, we talked earlier about some of the things we talked to Coach D.Y. Chen about, and one of the things he highlighted as Washington's offensive strength is their dynamic, because a lot of their players have been handlers in other teams that they've been on, whether it was as youth players or club or something like that. And so they feel like they can really change position effectively, and you can see it very much in their style of play. When that O-line goes out there, guys are changing positions frequently, and it makes them a lot harder to guard because you really have to expect anything from whoever you're covering.
I don't even have anything to add to that, Keith. Well said, indeed. Washington ready to continue getting some high contributions out of their D-line. See number 44, Muang Chan, walking over there. A young player, hyper athletic, somebody who's taken a lot of difficult matchups over the course of this game, will continue to take difficult matchups over the course of this tournament. So we see Matt Rader marshaling the defense for the UW Sun Dodgers. D.Y. Chen assigning matchups.
Texas O-line awaiting that hand. Armstead playing a lot more defense in this second half. We'll see if he goes back with Slayton. No, open to begin the possession.
A little bit of low edge on that throw from No, but reeled in by Babbitt.
I think another thing that you're seeing when we talk about these Texas resets, which got bogged down a bit earlier in the second half, is how much easier it is for them to throw these resets from the middle of the field. He's operating for that middle third, opens up a lot of room, and now here's a jump ball for Worthington from Slayton, and Muang Chan goes up over Worthington, and that's going to get the sidelines fired up for the Sun Dodgers.
And that's the senior roofed by the freshman, and then a athletic play from Slayton. Foul call comes from Ramstad.
Slayton already motioning potentially to go to the observer.
Can I go to the observer?
Definitely some.
Sure, I just think, yeah.
Come here, observer. Rule it a foul. Okay.
I'm not quite sure that I see the same thing, although I have the benefit of instant replay. But it is possible that that play might have been one that required contact, that the follow-through was always going to make contact with the cutter.
There are some that say that if the play requires contact, it's not worth making. We certainly don't want to do anything dangerous, but I think that was otherwise, that was the best line Slayton was going to have on it while still being able to have an impact on the play. Otherwise, you just pull it up and marking.
Yeah, I even seeing it a third time, I still got to side with the defense there. I feel like that was a clean play, but nothing egregious.
I'm not going to say it, Keith. It's Texas Tough Reed Marshall's right
I
outside the end
appreciate that.
zone.
One of my least favorite phrases in all the game, and we don't even have to utter it. So Slayton with great field position now, and a quick score to the goal collector, Xavier Fuzat.
5 assists for Slayton and 4 to 5 goals for Fuzat. They're the ones getting it done for this Texas Tough O-line.
At least on the stat sheet, that pairing is certainly taking a lead over the rest of the group. There, not a lot of work for either on that possession after the hard work on defense. Slayton able to get it back after the turnover.
A little bit of redemption for Slayton. This hug not quite there. Mung Chan showing the athletic chops. Times it a little bit better. Gets up around the big body of Jake Worthington. We get a replay on that blow on the attempted block from Slayton. And this is where he shows why he is one of the best on this tough team. Despite 2 plays that could have blown up his mental game, delivers a nice, easy upline goal to Fuzat, reeling in his 5th goal, giving Slayton his 5th assist.
So we'll see if there's any answer for those two. And Washington had, I mean, they've been trying Ramstad coming out to guard Slayton and had some success, but still just not able to prevent him from finding ways to get to the end zone and make an impact on the game.
Disc sails out of bounds, carried over to that right-hand side as Lee's going to take it to the correct brick mark this time.
And that's been a pervasive problem for Tough in this game, pulling up wind. A lot of possessions beginning at the brick mark for the Sun Dodgers. Lee with the off-foot inside sling. All this one is going to require us to stay in bounds, but not enough room. Brown really forced to go up with an aggressive play and unable to make that. And while Brown is saying I should have caught that, if I were assigned the stats, I got to give that turnover to Lee.
Yeah, you have to air it out. You want to get it out to space there. And Brown is the ideal target, but you don't need to make it more difficult for him just because he can go get that disc.
Not to say that Brown couldn't catch that, but I think he was put in a tough spot. So a big break chance for Texas. And nice job to get it off the sideline early. That's, I think, got to be the approach right now, given the struggles they've had resetting the disc, although they're a struggle just catching an easy swing. The wind often credited with how it messes up throws, but a lot of those can lead to weird drops, too.
Zhao expressing some displeasure through the contact from Tough, and Tough is ratcheting up the intensity through physicality.
Yeah, Washington not fazed by the physicality, even if they may be displeased by it.
Looks like Zhao may even be using to get fired up while Brown tries to get his teammates calmed down and keep them focused on the right things. We're not going to let Tough get into our heads with physical play. We're going to keep playing our game, the message he's sending.
Brown able to get the score after missing on the first chance. I'm sure he's glad to get a redemptive shot. And a yellow card being issued tonight for the contact with Dean near the sideline. And Washington perhaps taking some umbrage with defensive play on that one. Take another look. I mean, this is a really interesting throw from Lee. Getting that off with that type of footwork can be difficult. And if that disc either doesn't hang quite as long or doesn't go quite as far, it's one of the highlights of the day. Instead, it's just a turnover.
And it ends in a much less exciting score. He gets the chance to demonstrate the body control again, but that front of the end zone little toe tap, nowhere near as fun as hey, I jumped 6 feet in the air, caught the disc, and kept it in bounds. Does less for the team, but again, Sun Dodgers looking to maintain calm and cool around the fiery intensity of this tough side.
Tell you, I'll never get enough of watching Jack Brown float around in the air, man.
I am afraid that it was Axel Agami Contreras who got absolutely roofed by him last year at Color of Ultimate in the showcase game at College Nationals. He just absolutely buried somebody.
He's got a nice vert, say that much, and some good hang time to go with it. Ramstad again coming down with Slayton. Fuzat getting covered by Wright. I mean, aside from Wanchan, those are really the shutdown guys for Washington. Wanchan sticking with Worthington.
Yeah,
and I'd say he's probably got the better of that matchup, the youngster. Great step around inside lane backhand from Babbitt. Opens things up a bit for Tough. And Fuzat to Slayton, not sure how they lost track of him, but standing wide open at the front cone, and he's motioning with excitement. He's trying to urge on his team, but the holds are great. They need those too, but it's a break that's going to define this game for Texas.
One upwind break is the difference maker here. Giving it up early, forcing them to play to get it back. Xavier Fuzat able to put it down, flip it, and reverse it, dishing instead this time to Zach Slayton for the goal.
So it doesn't feel like it, because I feel like the teams have actually gotten quieter. They're maybe a little bit more internal, but we're coming down the stretch here. We're into the fourth quarter now with this game being 12-12. And I remember the vociferous sidelines that we started this game with, and I imagine that Texas probably wants to get back to that. I think they were in a better place mentally when they were fired up. But Washington equally quiet.
Seattle has always done their thing. Sometimes their thing is getting loud, sometimes their thing is being quiet, but it is determinedly out of character for this tough side to be so introspective, perhaps we could call it, Keith.
I mean, I'm still seeing that intensity in their play, and after points, you're still seeing the celebrations. You're still seeing guys look around at each other and try to get each other fired up, but we'll see if they can ratchet it up. It's not uncommon for there to be a little lull as we get into these final moments. Teams sense, hey, these points are going to be decisive in this game. Let's get it ramped back up.
We are excited to remind you that Ultiworld's live streaming coverage of the 2023 College Championships is presented by Breakmark Ultimate. Visit them at breakmark.com. An Ultiworld subscription is the only way to get more of your favorite teams, the superstars, and the biggest moments in Ultimate. Whether you're a player, coach, captain, or fan, there's no better way to get closer to the game. Find out more at ultiworld.com/subscribe.
Yeah, if you're not subscribed right now, you're missing out on Field Pass. Rumor has it that we've got some great games in this round right now. And I said games because you could get 4, sometimes even more games at the same time over on Field Pass. Also introduced our Event Pass for the first time. So a chance for folks who are only looking to watch one major event. Maybe you got someone playing here at the College Championships. And, there's no more college season after this. So I could see if you're a big college fan, getting that Event Pass, getting access to all the games. Texas trying to junk things up to make sure Washington can't get a quick score to begin the possession. And again, you still see that fluidity of the offense. Lee starts as the handler. He's gone. Oldemariam dancing around. And up line to Zhao for the score. So Washington smoothly navigating that Texas defense, who doesn't have a lot of opportunities left, so they're going to need to capitalize on each of them and see if they can get some possessions going their way.
this game continues to go the way of the Sun Dodgers, we're going to have to wonder if the word Washington is the antidote to this Texas Tough team. 13-12 currently to the Sun Dodgers.
And more statistical accomplishments for Zal, who is up to 8 total points in this one. That beats out even Fuzat, who's only got 7.
He's just doing it at every level on the field. He's marshaling in the backfield with his running mate Lee. He is happy to push into that midfield space and churn upline after upline, and then in the end zone or attacking the end zone, he's finding that horizontal space about 10 yards out, or happy to just glide over. And glide is, I think, about as fluid as he's moving to those open spaces at the front cone.
And it's not splashy, you know, it's not the big play, it's not gonna garner a ton of likes on Instagram, but the stat line is.
Yeah, no, you look back at this game and he is the player who has filled it up as we get the assist numbers for Isaac Woldemariam, quietly having a great game, 2 assists on the day, no turnovers. Zhao not in our ahead of game scouting report, but nonetheless, the person who's done the most for this Sun Dodgers side. We see Babbitt fielding, pushing ahead to Slayton, and Tough needs this hold, needing a break a little more, drop, as Lau picks it up.
Owen Smith not able to hold onto it, and now a fast break opportunity for Washington, but Ramstad trying to fight that forehand upwind. Can't connect. So a reprieve from Tough. Tough came out in a new look too with that side stack. Hard to see that cut off by just an execution error. Shane Worthington putting the moves on the cutting space. Now here's that sideline reset. Now a big swing from Slayton.
And some turning ahead of Babbitt, who gets a second of reprieve on the pick call. Fuzat in the area, but things are crowded downfield.
Babbitt kind of throwing open Fuzat, but can't keep it in bounds. Fuzat looking uncomfortable, unfortunately, after the bid.
Yeah, it looks like he came down a little hard on that right side. Texas taking an injury call, taking the opportunity to put in John Clyde.
Martin Lee coming in as the matchup sub for Washington. Dean, marked by Clyde, and his short throw just comes out a little funky and catches a little air. Maybe too casual in the wind. But Slayton with a really difficult swing. Too much power on it, so back-to-back turns for Tufts on these wide throws. And Dean takes a timeout.
These throws are starting to come out with a little too much pace. Wide and far for Texas Tough. Nerves and pressure of the game perhaps starting to really set in on them. These throws were routine in the first quarter of this game, first half of this game, and all of a sudden nothing is easy and nothing is automatic.
So Washington looking to take control, up 1, coming out of a timeout. We'll see if they can finish off an upset against Texas after this break.
What are they, spaceships from Mars? No, they're Frisbees. Watch it soar. It flies way around like a bird. You can even run for a pass. You can play all kinds of games. Isn't it amazing? Frisbee Flying Saucer. Yours at toy, drug, and department stores.
We are back. Mason, Ohio. Ultiworld's coverage of D1 College National Championships brought to you by Breakmark. Ultiworld's live streaming coverage of the 2023 College Championships is presented by Breakmark Ultimate. Visit them at breakmark.com. We tune in to a high throw blocked by Texas Tough.
Breakmark presenting this. Break opportunity gone by the wayside there. I'm sure they would have liked a cleaner read, but Ramstad has struggled with that. I mean, I think he's got quite a few turnovers on that similar looking huck.
Take a moment of appreciation for the defensive adjustments made by this Sun Dodger side.
This one trying to catch up to it. Cade White can't quite get to it. Owen Smith putting that out to space, hoping that it would die down at the end, but it dove down instead.
Sun Dodgers are finishing up this acknowledgement of the defensive pressure. They've started employing a bracket set and are easily rotating. It's making it difficult for downfield threats like Worthington to break free. Easily picked up by Mungchan or Jasper Dean or any of these tall players who are able to go out and compete with them.
Lee using the power position to help free up Jasper Dean.
And a moment of displeasure from Ramstad. The observer walks on to halt play.
Yeah, I'm not sure if White is opting to disagree with this foul call. Body language unclear. I think I saw a no contest signal in there. But Ramstad indicating to his knee, and sometimes I know players can be particularly sensitive about that, given the severity of potential knee injuries. Able to catch it past a bidding White again, and Ramstad looking to go off to the races.
He's pushing hard. He wants to make a point now that to win the game, but the disc sails over his head. Ramstad not able to complete the superhero point.
Dean a little too much edge on that throw, so it pulls up. And now Clyde looking to put one deep, and he's looking to put a little more touch on it. But again, the wind just carries that disc. Bounced up and down, so Worthington indicates he couldn't get a good read on it. Maybe could have run that out had he stayed straight, but tough play for the receiver.
Soft cap going off means that we are looking at one of the last couple points of this game. If Washington holds here, we'll complete the track to 15. If Texas scores, next point wins as we complete a 14.
And some key offensive personnel for Texas out there getting worked on a long point. I mean, they're having to put in a couple extra miles here. Could be a difference maker down the stretch. But Cade White doesn't look like he's tired at all as he gets off his feet for another block. I mean, how many times has this kid been in this game?
I like the fight that he is demonstrating there. Regardless of the calls, the extracurriculars that he's getting himself involved in, being willing to go out and say, fine, I will give my 100% on every play is what you need in tight games like this.
Yeah, I think people can sometimes mistake bids for good defense, but there's not a gratuitous one in the bunch.
No, every single one of these, he's fingertip lengths away from completing a play.
Gavin Babbitt totally uncovered. And Slayton with great touch on that crossfield throw. And that's appropriate because Babbitt earlier made a double move that shook a defender free and had his sideline howling with excitement as he broke someone's ankles, and then eventually gets the goal as well. So Texas draws to even. So that'll make this Universe point game to 14 with that cap on.
I love when players can make in-game adjustments, Keith, from getting shut down in the backfield earlier to shaking free of two defenders, as you mentioned. What an incredible step back up from one of the most important players on this tough side, Babbitt.
Slayton getting his 6th assist of this game. And we're going to see a timeout from Texas as they get ready to prepare. And that makes a lot of sense given that they just had a number of their top players out for that long point there. So we'll see which one of these teams can assert themselves after. An Ultimate World subscription is the only way to get more of your favorite teams, the superstars, and biggest moments in Ultimate. Whether you're a player, coach, captain, or fan, there's no better way to get closer to the game. Find out more about that at ultiworld.com/subscribe.
Remember that we've got not just a full subscription and not just our Plus subscription, but we've got event passes now, bringing you all of the coverage that you could want for one price, $16.99, I believe. Gets you every game, and you get to keep access to those games to watch back later at your convenience.
Yeah, there's never been a greater volume of coverage of the D1 College Championships than there are this year. And that's following after we did more coverage than has ever been done of the Division III College Championships. So we out here.
We out here indeed. 40 teams, 58 games. Everyone gets coverage.
So John Clyde getting ready to pull, getting ready to wrap this one up. Coming up next, got UBC and Carleton, the top 2 seeds in Pool C in the women's division. That could be one that goes to Universe as well. 2 teams that have their eyes set on the potential to challenge UNC for a title.
And you'll get Theo and Emma on the mic for that game. Theo excited to talk about his hometown Canadians.
Yeah, but plenty of superstars on that Carleton team to get you excited too. We'll see which stars make an impact on this game. Very curious to see which 14 get put on the line because we've seen a lot of difference makers on both sides of the disc.
Low edge on that pole keeps it in bounds for Clyde. Bauer giving chase to Dean. Disc too far outside of Dean's reach. Good pressure from Bauer.
And just inches wide there for the lengthy Dean. And a quick injury call from Soren Dahl. Looking maybe like a cramp. Dahl works his way off. We'll take another look at, I mean, that is so close. Just inches away. Mungshan gets to come in on Worthington. I'm sure he's happy to get that matchup once again.
And I bet Worthington's a little bit annoyed that, God, this guy's back on me one more time.
But I'm sure he's happy to have the disc with a chance to win this game. Slayton initiates. Clyde looking to reset. Great reset defense. I don't know how Zach Slayton managed to snag that one. No time to react.
Clyde is running Jack Brown all around this reset space, pushing ahead to Slayton.
And it's all Zach Slayton and John Clyde right now. Into space. That one bounces off of Barcio, and a chance for a second chance, really, for Washington now. Looking to activate quickly. Zhao's got room. Brown fires one. Can this one stay in bounds for Zhao? Zhao bids, and it bounces off of the fingertips of Washington, and the game-winning goal goes out of bounds.
I don't think I've ever seen Jack Brown air the disc out like that, Keith, and honestly, if he'd put 0.5% less on that throw, I think it's in stride for Zhao. What an incredible look and opportunity, just a bit too far for a bidding Zhao.
Washington with a pair of turnovers that, had they been an inch different in direction, would have probably both been completions. Again, that Washington reset defense, though, is putting a ton of pressure on Texas.
It's fierce. It is radically different than anything we've seen from them really early in the season, even late in the season, or today. They've ratcheted up to a level we weren't sure that they could achieve. It's paying dividends.
But the defense looks they're starting to slow down a bit on Washington's end. Bauer, big gainer to White. Tricky flip from White back, and then the throw behind Slayton. He's made some improbable catches in this one, but that one a little too much to ask, I guess.
Yeah, 2 feet behind him. Really difficult to turn around and make that grab, already with momentum going forward.
Waldemariam to Brown, who broke free deep, forced to switch, and now comes under, and now he's got a wide open target. If he can keep this one in, it's the game. But there is a call prior to the completion. There is an injury call, I believe, from Zach Slayton, perhaps, or no, from Waldemariam prior to the throw. So I think this one will come back.
The injury call looks like it's going to return us, based on recognition, looks like it'll return us to the throw from Jack Brown. Yeah, we see in the replay there, Waldemariam advanced the disc to Brown, puts his hand up, calls the injury, starts walking off. The disc is going to stay in Brown's hands. Texas breathes easier for another few seconds as the goal comes back.
And that was a blown coverage, so this is going to give you a chance to kind of figure out, hey, who needs to be where? Injury subs for both sides. Babbitt subbing in for Cade White. The other side, Nick Yin coming in for Washington. Brown keeping the disc, and again, Texas reorganizing. John Clyde's really just poaching in the lane. This time doesn't pay for it. Brown tries to take off.
Bauer, intense defense, shadowing Dean.
And an unreal look from Lee. Inside-out scoober, I'm going to call that. And unable to be caught by Brown. I mean, there's no way he could have predicted that throw was coming his way.
Credit to Saketh Palchuru for getting to the spot, though, and adding just the little piece of pressure needed to ensure that that disc was dropped.
And Texas, again, just cannot find reset options when they get near the sideline.
Looks like a fast count conversation coming from Bauer into Dean on the far sideline there, Keith.
Yeah, the mark potentially bailing Bauer out. So now back in the middle of the field with Babbitt. And you can sense the pressure mounting on both of these teams. The Jack Brown-John Clyde matchup is a thrill. Clyde gets open and now sends a break mark backhand that hangs, and Jasper Dean rips that one down. And so back and forth these two teams go.
And as the tension mounts, you can see fatigued bodies of these players starting to move ever so more slowly, Keith.
And it's also going to make the offensive decision-making and execution that much harder. Contested hammer.
Lee showing his strength there, just ripping the disc out of Barcio's hands.
Texas doing a lot of switching on the back end, and they've blown some of those coverages before. Monchan saves that one. And deep shot goes up. Another look for Washington towards the end zone. Is this the one? No, that downwind Huck just gets away from the Sun Dodgers yet again.
And that's the second missed Huck that Zhao has chased down, and he's showing it. Exhausted down on the end of the field.
It looks like we're going to have our third injury substitution of this point. You can see these players are really being taxed by the weight of this point.
Bauer, Babbitt, Slayton, Worthington, Barcio, Cade White coming back in for Barcio. Saketh Palchuru, John Clyde out there, the workhorses for this Texas Tough team.
Davis Wright, as you can see, subbing in as a defensive substitution for Washington. But, you know, you got to take the chance to get the fresh legs out there, given how hard this point has been.
Yeah, White's still out there with Jack Brown, with Monchan, with Martin Lee, Leo Cruz, Jasper Dean. And this is purely a battle of wills at this point, Keith. Wills and execution.
Babbitt, high throw. Monchan's able to knock that down, so Washington gets it back again. And these two teams are fighting, but struggling as well.
Travel call on the far side of the field from Bauer. Lee laughing it off, going to the observer. Observer's going to uphold that travel call, though. Disc is going to go back to Lee.
Must have been a convincing reenactment for Power.
And is that not what Frisbee's all about, Keith?
Reenactments?
Reenactments.
All right, what do you think? Is Washington going to be able to holster the deep shot on this one? Or maybe complete it?
Holster is a question. I think that they may have learned their lesson, seeing somebody go down with it. And I spoke it into existence, and they aired out to Brown, but it's going to be a little too far. Clyde ensures it does not get saved by some acrobatics.
Lesson unlearned here, although I will say, these are good. You're making sure that Texas has to go a long way while tired.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Huck and stuff is a viable offense.
And it's not like those hucks are just punts. I mean, they're looking to hit. Just struggling to get those connections there.
More conversation about the speed of the stall count. Texas Tough very confident in what 10 seconds looks and should feel like.
Yeah, I think suddenly now that the game's gotten so tight, everyone's playing by the rules to the T. Clyde and Brown still in an absolute trench fight, trying to get open in the reset space.
It's trench warfare between the two of those two players.
Lots of room. Unable to get something off, so now he and Slayton working together. Slayton into space, and he's going to tee up a timeout. And I'm sure he's glad to get a chance to get his hands on his knees and get some oxygen in his lungs.
Windy though it is, we are in the heat of the day. Sun is directly overhead.
And this has been an adventure of a journey.
Starts with the drop from Dean, the huge layout from Slayton.
And I mean, it has been highlight plays and errors alike. We've seen a little bit of everything on this point.
Both of these teams could probably make their season highlight reels and low light reels off this point alone, Keith. What do you say? So, as we see the injury to Wolden Merriam again, as the disc comfortably into the hands, towed the wrong line.
I missed that in live play that he actually towed the wrong line.
What are you looking for coming out of the timeout, Keith? If you're Texas, what's your look here?
I mean, I think the main thing for them is they're going to try and attack the middle of the field. And I may be looking to clear out the reset. They've struggled so much with getting these resets back to the middle from the sideline thirds. Now, Slayton has some space here, but I want to make sure that I'm not settling for my only option being getting Gavin Babbitt. So getting the disc in the middle right away, as they just did, is also a viable option to help make these resets easier.
Getting those resets is going to be huge, but they don't want to lose too many yards. Pushing back 5-6 yards on every single dish is only going to end them back up in the place that they've clawed their way out of.
Worthington able to catch it with some separation, although Munchon and Worthington are going to try and agree on where that separation should be. And a low throw from Worthington, another save from Slayton, and now Slayton taking a shot. He's got room, and it drops in. Cadillac Zach with the score. An absolute perfect shot from Slayton to wrap this one up. Texas Tough fights off Washington for the win.
This is only a pool play game, but despair on the field. Martin Lee slow to get up after an emotional end to this game. Those points, like layouts, hurt most when they don't go your way. It is tough to come off of a point that long and see the game go to the other team.
And to go with that layout analogy, I mean, this was one that they had in their hands. They literally caught the score, and they felt like won the game and had to send it back and eventually watch their opposition be the ones that get the score that counts.
A have-to-have game goes the way of Texas Tough. 14-13, close and hard-fought win over the Washington Sun Dodgers.
And a Washington team that's been fighting to get to this point all year has to feel like this is a day of missed opportunities. Texas, meanwhile, able to finish it off, showing that characteristic grit of the tough program.
So David Zhao, hands all over this game, did everything. Deep cuts, excellent movement in the backfield, slick break throws, explored the middle of the field in a way that nobody else could, and a willingness to just attack space fast and furious for this Sun Dodgers team. Unfortunately, went down with an injury right at the end of the game, somebody that would have liked to have had to finish off the last couple possessions here, but truly had the biggest impact for the Sun Dodgers team.
3 goals and 5 assists for Zhao. And we're going to send it down to the sideline with Katie Killebrew, who's with Xavier Fuzat.
Xavier, huge impact game for you. I see we're rocking the Crocs now, but it's great to see you back up under your own power. Talk me through the second half of that game.
Oh, I was fighting demons out there. I was cramping the first half. I was trying everything I could. I was down in Gator Lights, and I bit in the second half, cramped up, but team pulled it through at the end. It was nice to see.
What was, you think, the biggest change that led you from being down at half to now winning?
Just trusting our D-line. We knew if we kept forcing turnovers, we were going to score, and yeah, that was about it.
If you had one person from your team to highlight looking forward into the bracket, who do you want us to keep an eye on?
Keep watching Jake Worthington. He's our star cutter for us, and he'll continue to do great things.
Great. And this was a big impact game for you. What are you guys looking to do and take care of yourselves as you progress further in this tournament?
Just keep losing our legs. We feel pretty conditioned, so just keep trying to abuse that.
I know that you almost didn't make this Nationals tournament, going down at regionals and then coming back to take that last win, the second bid out of your region. What does it mean to you to be here on this stage today?
Oh, it's great. I know we have some graduating people, so it's good to finally get them out here for the last Nationals. But yeah, WashU's a great team. They took it to us, so it'll be interesting to see what it is next year too.
Awesome. Well, good luck in the rest of your tournament. Great game, very entertaining to watch, and I'm going to send it back to you, Keith.
Xavier Fuzat, our spin player of the game. Teams who wear spin uniforms have higher satisfaction with uniform quality, fit, design, and overall value compared to any other Ultimate company. So next time you're ordering uniforms, give Spin a shout. For more information, go to spinultimate.com. Quite a tale of the tape we have here. Look at these numbers. Anything jump out to you, Charlie?
22 to 23 turnovers, and knowing that about 5 apiece for each team came on that very last point. Breaks were few and far between, a lot of upwind, downwind going, break opportunities. We see the difference in those numbers. 3 breaks for Texas to 12 chances, 2 for Washington to 13 chances. Clean holds, really one of the stories though.
Yeah, those 10 to 15% break conversion rates, probably not what the coaches want to see, but ultimately Texas is going to be happy to walk away with a win. And it is a big one. I mean, you talked about it, Charlie. This was basically a must-have for these two teams.
100%. Texas tough, able to bring it home and continue to control their destiny in Pool D. Colorado and Pittsburgh looming.
So this Pool D matchup decided. The number 9 seed Texas Tough moves to 2-0 in the pool. And like you mentioned, they still have matchups against the top 2 seeds, so they may have a chance to emerge as the victor in Pool D. That still is an option for this Texas team. So we're going to wrap up here. Next up, we've got UBC and Carleton coming from the women's division. For Charlie Lowe, this is Keith Rayner. An exciting one here between Texas Tough and Washington. Final score, Texas wins on Universe 14-13.